أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام، وأتوب إليه من جميع ظلمي وجرمي وإسرافي على نفسي، وأتوب إليه. يا دائم الفضل على البرية، يا باسط اليدين بالعطية، يا صاحب المواهب الصنية، صل على محمد وآله خير الورى سجية، واغفر لنا يا ذا العلا في هذه العشية. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء، وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء، وخضع لها كل شيء، وذل لها كل شيء، وبجبروتك التي قلبت بها كل شيء، وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء، وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء، وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء، وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء، وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء، وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء، وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس، يا نور يا قدوس، يا نور يا قدوس، يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهدك الإثم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل اللقاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء، اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبت وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك، واستشفع بك إلى نفسي، وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك، وأن توزعني شكرك، وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع، أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا، وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته، وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم أظم سلطانه وعلى مكانه، وخفي مكروه، وظهر أمره، وغلب قهره وجرى قدرته ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومته. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائه ساترا ولا لشيء من عملها الغبي بالحسن مبدلا غيره. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترته وكم من فاده من البلاء أغلته وكم من إثار وغيته وكم من مكروه دفعته وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرته. اللهم أضم بلائي وأفرت بي سوء حالي وغثرت بي أعمالي وغعدت بي أغلالي وحبسني عن نفعي بعد أملي وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بجنايتها ومثالي يا سيدي وأسألك بعزتك أن لا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملت في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودبام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك أسأل كشف ضري والنذر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي ولم أهترز فيه من تزيين عدوي فغرني بما أهوى وأسعده على ذلك القضاء فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعد حدودي وخالفت بعد أوامري فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاء وألزمني حكمك وبلاء. وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستغيلا مستغفرا منيبا مغرا مذعنا معترفا لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في سعة رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري وفكني من شد وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمي. يا من بدأ خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي، هبني لابتداء كرمه وسالف برك بي. يا إلهي وسيدي وربي، أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدي وبعد ما انتبى عليه قلبي من معرفته ولإجابه لساني من ذكره واعتقده ضميري من حبه، وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيته. هيات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيت أو تبعد من أدنيت أو تشرد من آويت أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمت. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي، أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدا، وعلى ألسن نطق بتوحيدك صادقا وبشكرك مادحا، وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققا، وعلى ضمائر حوت من العين بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وعلى جوارح ست إلى أوطان تعبدك تائئة، وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنة. ما هكذا الظن به ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنه. يا كريم يا رب، يا كريم يا رب، يا كريم يا رب، وأنت تعلم وعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، ألا أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكثو يسير بقاء قصير مدته. فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف لي وأنا عبدك الضعيف ذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو ولما منها أضج وأبكي، لأليم العذاب وشدته أم لطول البلاء ومدته. فلئن صيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي صبرت على أضابه فكيف أصبر على فراغه وأبني صبرت على هر ناره فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامته أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي عفو فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا لأضجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآملين ولأصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين ولأبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين ولأنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين يا غاية آمال العارفين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين ويا إله العالمين أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته وضاغت أذابها بمعصيته وأبس بين أتباعها بجرمه وجريرته وهو يضج إليك ضجيج مؤمل لرحمته ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيده ويتوسل إليك بربوبيته يا مولاي فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمه أم كيف تؤلمه الله وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك أم كيف يحرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرا وأنت تعلم ضعفه أم كيف يتغلغل بين أتباعها وأنت تعلم صدقها أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رب أم كيف يرجو فضلك في إتقه منها وتترك فيها هيهات هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما عاملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك فباليقين أغتأ لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحدي وقضيت به من إخلاد معاندي لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما وما كان لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين وأن تجل ثناؤه قلت مبتدئا وتتولت بالعنعام متكرما أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستعون. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Like the time that we always together, we do the Dua Kumail at Saba. At this point, I remind everyone to remember those who used to be with us, used to sit with us, especially in Saba, and your loved ones, and inshallah, all would benefit from this dua, especially those who sponsors the program. Inshallah, everyone would benefit. And التماس الدعاء نسألكم الدعاء. إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وقلبت من عليه أجريتها أن تاب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل أملته كتمته أو أعلنته أخفيته أو أذأرته وكل سيئة أمرت بإثبات الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائه والشاهد لما خفي عنه وبرحمتك أخفيت وبفضلك سترت وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلت أو إحسان فضلت أو بر نشرت أو رزق بسدت أو ذنب تغفر أو خطأ تستر يا رب 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 يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي يا من بيده ناصيتي يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي يا رب 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 أسألك بحقك وقدسك وأعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورة وبخدمتك موصولة وأعمالي عندك مقبولة حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا يا سيدي يا من عليه مؤولي يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا رب قف على خدمتك جوارحي واشدد على العزيمة جوانحي وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين وأسرع إليك في البارزين واشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين وأذنب منك ذنوب المخلصين وأخافك مخافة الموقنين واجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرد ومن كادني فكد واجعل لي من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك وأقربهم منزلة مني وأخصهم زلفة لدي فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك وجد لي بجودك وعتف علي بمجدك واحفظني برحمتك واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا وقلبي بحبك متيما إن شاء الله. ومن علي بحسن إجابتك وأقلني عثرتي واغفر زلتي فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك وأمرتهم بدعائك وضمنت لهم الإجابة فإليك يا رب نصبت وجهي وإليك يا رب مددت يدي فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي وبلغني مناي ولا تغتى من فضلك رجائي واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء فإنك فعال لما تشاء يا من اسمه دواء وذكره شفاء وطاعته قناة ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء وسلاهه البكاء يا سابق النعم يا دافع النقم يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام يا عالما لا يعلم صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل بي ما أنت أهله وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تماس الدعاء نسألكم الدعاء.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألف لام ميم. تلك آيات الكتاب الحكيم هدى ورحمة للمحسنين الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم بالآخرة هم يوقنون أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون. ومن الناس من يشتري لهو الحديث ليضل عن سبيل الله بغير علم ويتخذها هزوا أولئك لهم عذاب مهين وإذا تتلى عليه آياتنا ولى مستكبرا كأن لم يسمعها كأن في أذنيه وقرا فبشره بعذاب أليم صدق الله العلي العظيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي لا يبلغ مدحته القائلون ولا يحصي نعماءه العادون ولا يؤدي حقه المجتحدون، الذي لا يدركه بعد الحمم ولا يناله غوص الفطن، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، حبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا، سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم، وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين، صاحب العصر والزمان، خليفة الرحمن، إمام الإنس والجان، ولعن الله أعداهم أجمعين إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والنفس وما سواها فالهمها فجورها وتقواها، قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. Becoming a better human being has been our ongoing topic. Tonight is lecture number 8. We are now 2 days away from the day of Ashura, and we have reached a very critical stage in our Ashra. If you remember in the first opening lectures of this Ashra, I talked about this Ashra being a flight. It's a very common example I use wherever I go. And the flight right now is approaching its destination. We have had some very interesting and very important discussions about the Islamic morality system for the past now 8 days. It's been a week now. And together, you and I, now we've explored the ever so important discussion on behavior, where behavior comes from, where it starts from. And then for the past few nights now, we've been looking at these 4 powerful departments inside of the soul of the human being, right? Anger, desire, creativity, and the intellect. And in this 4 mini-part series that serve to be a subtopic of the idea of understanding what we're up against in terms of our behavioral challenges, we actually were able to derive 4 very important behavioral traits that we ultimately need to now do what? Need to now apply into our life. Okay? With knowledge, guys, comes responsibility, right? So long as we could say that we didn't know, nothing was expected from us. The moment that we are given that knowledge, now we're expected to turn that knowledge into action. Okay. The four that we talked about in the various individual dedicated discussions on each department was the fact that we talked about the fact that a balanced, a moderate level of anger brings about courage. A moderate level of desire brings about modesty. A moderate level of creativity brings about justice. And a moderate level of intellect from last night brings about wisdom. And if nothing else, this should prove to all of you and to myself and show me as well how beautiful the deen is, where it doesn't reject these emotions. In fact, it says when used properly, directed properly, guided properly, it actually can produce beautiful traits. Like if we can somehow get these things to be part of our disposition, these four, if we can be courageous, modest, just, and wise in our life, oh my God. Like a lot of the problems that we face today would be gone. Okay? So those are the four that I promised I would leave you with, and I've left you with. Now, as I take off my glasses, now what? Syed Asad? Now what? I did all of this. I'm sweating up here. I'm talking up here. I'm losing my breath up here. I'm moving my hands everywhere up here. I'm doing all of that for what? For what? For a couple of tweets here and there, a few hashtags? No. I'm doing it so that we can strengthen our families. And the past 8 discussions have been revolving around all of the tools we need for a successful family. When I say successful family, I mean successful marriages. Okay? I know that the young guys and the youth group at Saba that, when I first came to Saba, my first experience at Saba, if you guys remember, which you probably don't, was in 2007. Man, that's a long time ago. Whew. 13 years ago was my first experience at Saba when they had the Saba family camp. Okay? And the first guy I met was Mehdi Falahati. Yeah, you meet Mehdi once and that's it. It's just, that's it. You never forget Mehdi. He's put a stamp on your soul, mashallah. Amazing brother. I miss him dearly. And then from there, my very, very first Muharram Ashra live, if you remember, was at Saba. Okay? 2007. And that was the year that I left halfway through the Ashra because my daughter was born on the 6th of Muharram. So I left you guys hanging in the middle of an Ashra in the 1st of Muharram, because first Ashra of Muharram, because I had to be there for the birth of my first child. I don't regret it. I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't regret it. I'm still sorry now, almost 12 years later. Anyways. Back then, right, the young guys that I met, the youth that I met, and then subsequently when I would come for the month of Ramadan sometimes, and then for Muharram again, blah, blah, blah. Most of those guys now, you guys have kids, you're married, et cetera, et cetera. There's some people now, even younger than you now, who are getting married. And what I want to do is I want to spend all of those 8 nights that I spent building up these preliminary discussions to talk to you guys about strengthening your families. Okay? Understand the sanctity of marriage. Understand the beauty of marriage. Understand the package that comes with marriage. Okay? Now, I'm going to use The Lantern of the Path, is a book called Misbah al-Sharia, as the foundational guide for my next 2 closing discussions for before Muharram. Now, I have discussions on Sunday and Monday as well, right? But usually, the crux of the content happens before the day of Ashura. And I want to spend these next 2 nights, tonight and tomorrow night, talking about concepts that will help us strengthen our marriages, okay? And like I said, inside the book, Lantern on the Path, it's online. You can Google it right now if you like. There's al-islam.org has it. And the first discussion in that book is on ubudiyah. And the translation in the version on al-Islam is called bondage. I don't like that word. Subservience is a better word, but anyways, you know what I mean, to be subservient to Allah. And this is a book that is ascribed to Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. Now, not everybody in the Hausa, can verify the sanad of the book, but the contents of the book cannot be denied. They don't go against the aql, the logic, or anything else that the Imams had to say. In that discussion on being an abd of Allah, a servant of Allah, and listen very carefully, Imam Sadiq says there are 4 different relationships to examine in order for us to be considered to be an abd of Allah. Okay? And those 4 are me and Allah, me and the dunya, me and my a'mal, and me and others. Those around me. Okay? He then says there are 7 principles for each of these relationships. Meaning, if we want to grow and cultivate and strengthen me and God, there are 7 principles that need to be applied and discussed for you or for me to cultivate me and God. If I want to cultivate and get the right relationship between me and this world and the dunya, there are another unique 7 principles. And if I want to build strength between me and someone beside me, there are 7 principles that need to be applied. Now, the first point I want you to understand from this discussion, and you guys can refer to it later on, and the 7 principles that I want to discuss today and tomorrow, if I get to all 7, are in that book, is the fact that this is not a me-centric discussion. Meaning it's not just me and God, me, myself, and God. It doesn't matter how I treat my parents or how I treat my kids or how I treat my spouse or how I treat my in-laws. As long as me and God are good, everything else is good. Imam Sadiq says, no, that's not the case at all. Ubudiyah, subservience to Allah, being submissive to Allah, is not just you and God. It's not. Okay? There's 4 pieces to this puzzle. All 4 have to fit nicely for you to get subservience to Allah. Okay? The importance of the subservience of Allah, I'll give you this much, is that Shaitan worshipped Allah for 4,000 years, but never submitted to God when he had to. Understand? He worshipped Allah for 4,000 years, but he didn't submit himself to God. Because when you submit yourself to God, when you basically follow any one of his commands, even if those commands don't sit well with you, are hard for you, difficult for you, you don't understand it, you can't swallow it, right? So all of those years of worship should have resulted in him being a servant of God. He was a worshiper, he was an abd of Allah. He was the one who did ibadat of Allah, but he didn't do ubudiyat of Allah, right? He's the one that worshipped Allah, but he wasn't subservient to Allah. Subservience is close your eyes, whatever God says I do. If I understand why he made me do what he made me do later on, alhamdulillah. Otherwise, it's enough that God says so, khalas, tamam shud, thank you very much. That's enough, okay? So this concept of submission to God is a level higher than worshiping God. Okay? Perfect. Now, worshiping God is one idea. Submission to God requires 4 pieces to a puzzle. Okay? Remember, me and God, me and others, me and the dunya, me and the amal. I say that because there's so many people, too many people, that are great with God. Quote unquote, the religious ones inside of our communities, beautiful beards, perfect hijab and abaya, nice little scar on the forehead, fantastic. First line of the salat, do I this, Quran that, Matan Ramadan, oh my God, this guy, mashallah, is a pious one. You ask his family, and they describe him to be the Fir'aun of their family. Ya Allah. Okay? Which means this man hasn't quite understood the submission towards Allah. Okay? He might not miss one single salat. He might be up at 4 o'clock in the morning every single morning, but he doesn't give his wife his due or his kids their due. This is not an abd of Allah. Okay. So in that book now, what I want to focus on today and tomorrow is that relationship that Imam Sadiq describes as you and others. And here in other, I'm going to replace that other with spouse, if it's okay with all of you. So basically, these 7 principles that he says, these are not my words, these are words of Imam Sadiq, that need to be applied for what? A successful marriage, Okay, a lot of young couples out there right now that are listening to me right now, and I know a lot of you out there, alhamdulillah, these principles are for you. Even if my respective elders, who probably can teach me a few things about a good marriage, these are also good reminders for all of you, okay? All in light of, don't forget the fact that we are aiming now to be a courageous, modest, a just, wise individual based on the 4 conversations. Okay, that was the height of our elevation, those 4 conversations. Now we're going towards our descent, which is the next 2 conversations. And that is, let's use the elevation of the flight to now get a proper landing. Okay, what do I do with all this information about ghadabiyya, shahwiyya, all that? We use that now to do what? To make sure that I am good with my spouse. With my spouse. Okay. Let's begin. The first principle he says in the book is forbearance. Hilm. Hilm. And one point I want to make here that I made in a different ashra, and that was that what I really want to happen is I want the husbands to take the lead on this. I want you guys to step up. I want me to step up. Okay. The example I'll give you is a very simple example. Okay. Those of you who are basketball fans out there, I'm a basketball guy, as you guys know. Don't let these gray hairs fool you. I can still take a lot of you guys one-on-one. Don't test me. No one can sit there and guard me in the paint. I can still rock you guys anytime. Just do me a favor and make sure that you have an Advil and a couple of ice bags later on. Otherwise, let's do it. Okay? I want you to imagine that, let's say, for example, last year's finals. Okay? So the Golden State Warriors and my Toronto Raptors went to a game 7. Okay, let's say Kawhi had an off night in game 6. Okay, and even with KD out and with Clay out, somehow Steph pulled out his magic, right? Draymond was dirty that game, and they pulled off game 6. Now game 7 arrives. Big game, game 7 NBA Finals. And Steph is, of course, the captain of that team, the leader of that team. Reports say the day of the actual game now that he buckles under the pressure and decides to take an early vacation. Says, I'm out. Can't do it. He wouldn't do that. He's a captain of the team. Everyone would be shocked. He'd be tarnished for the rest of his career. Soft, can't handle the pressure. He's not the GOAT, et cetera, right? Because that's the single most important game of the entire year. Okay, all the teams are down to 2, all the games are down to 1, and the captain of the team bounces. Say, I'm out. I can't handle the pressure. I'm out. I'm sorry. Right now, I know the team needs me. It needs me more now than it ever did, but I can't handle the pressure, and I don't want to put myself in that pressure or sacrifice that for my team, so I'm out. Okay? Nobody would do that. Nobody would do that, right? The husband right now is the captain of the team. And there are moments in the marriage that the marriage needs the captain the most. And sometimes the captain leaves the team. I'm hearing stories of, I get phone calls all the time. And now with WhatsApp from all over North America. Wife wakes up one day, she's got 2 kids. She looks over in her bed and her husband is gone. It's gone. No idea where he went, no note, no message. His phone is off. For 3 days, no idea where he is. For 3 days, she has no clue where he is. When he finally shows up at home, what happened? Where'd you go? I just need a break. I need a break, right? Couple's been struggling, right? The kids have behavioral problems, right? Finances are tight. This guy now, game 7, he bounces. I can't do it. I'm out. Where'd you go? I went to my friend's house. I went to my mom's house for a bit, this and that. I needed a break from all you guys. Who's this? The captain of the team. In the middle of the war with the enemy attacking, the commander of the army bounces. Say, I'm out, guys. Good luck to you. Can't handle it. What are you doing right now? Right now in the middle of a war right now. We need you to lead us to victory right now. No, no, no. I can't. I need a break. Can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. Too many stories, guys. Too many stories. I don't want to make this into a sob story of bashing this person. No, I just want you to understand that what I'm about to tell you in the next 2 nights has to be led by the husband. The men have to step up. I need you guys to fight for your marriages. Fight for your marriages. Okay? All right? Struggle for them. Sacrifice for them. Cry for them. Okay? Sweat for them. Okay? Fight it out, man. It's okay. Just know there's not an option, unless, of course, absolutely brutal option to leave, to not leave. Okay? You don't, I mean, obviously, God forbid, if it has to end, it has to end. But I'm saying that, a little bit of a jolt, a little bit of a shake, and we're out. It doesn't work like that, man. It does not work like that. You find out the reality of somebody when they're faced with pressure. Okay? I'm just tired of getting phone calls from women and from wives that talk about the amount of abuse that husbands give me, or that, I get phone calls from husbands telling me I just kind of I got bored, Mom, so I divorced her. I fell out of love, I divorced her. She let herself go, so I divorced her. She just wasn't pretty enough after a while. She became ugly to me, so I left her. Right? Happens too many times. I can't leave you guys in this ashra without talking about husband and wife. I can't. And I'm asking the men to be men. I'm asking the men to be men. If you want the C on your chest to be the captain, you gotta show up when the pressure is tight. The whole world is looking at Steph Curry for Game 7. What will he do? And he will make or break his legacy on how he performs in Game 7s. If he wants to be considered the greatest of all time, he's got to show up in Game 7s, right? If you want to be considered respected by your wife, let's say, for example, at the most difficult moments in the marriage, the one that pulls out the family is the husband. And that's why the first principle of Imam Salih is forbearance. Forbearance, hilm, comes when? Forbearance comes in the wake of tragedy, in the wake of hardship, in the wake of struggles, in the wake of tribulations. That's when we understand how much courage this person has, how much wisdom they have, right? How just they are, all those things we talked about. These aren't individual discussions, guys. They're all linked like a beautiful chain, right? I thought long and hard about this ashra before I said yes, to Mustafa. But I thought long and hard. What do I want to talk about, and how do I want to construct this ashra of 10 to 12 majalis? And I brought you guys all the way here. Now we're descending into our destination, right? It's time to put on the seatbelt. It's time to put up the tray tables, right? Turn off your entertainment device, right? Put your seat back into the upright position. We're ready to descend. And now it's time for us to have uncomfortable conversations, if you haven't had enough already. And the reason why this marriage that you're in right now, I don't care if you're married for 1 day, 11 days, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years, doesn't matter. It's because this institution is too pious and too respected and too dignified to not fight for it. To not fight for it. I don't know if I presented these verses to you before, but I think I have. But I want to once again, if I have, then I apologize. But sometimes I can't keep track of everything that I'm doing right now. Surah Rum talks about marriage being a sign of God, right? The very famous verse that you find in a lot of wedding cards, Surah Rum, verse number 21. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُم مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لِآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَتَفَكَّرُونَ. From his signs that he created for you and from your spouses, so you may find serenity in them. He placed between you compassion and mercy. This, of course, all these things are signs for those who contemplate. This verse is sandwiched between 2 other verses where Allah also says that from his signs that he created man from dirt, وَمِنْ آيَاتِ again, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّن تُرَابٍ, from turab, from dirt, from clay, we created you. And right after the verse of marriage, it talks about, again, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ خَلْقُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافُ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ وَأَلْوَانِكُمْ, right? That from his signs is that he created the heavens and the earth, and all the different cultures and all the different colors in this universe and in people are all from God's signs. Now, the beauty of the creation of man and the beauty of the creation of the heavens and the earth are monumental events. Sandwiched in between that, God says the same person, the same entity that created Adam from clay and the heavens and the earth created your spouse for you. Now, it doesn't mean that, oh, is it true that, first in the heavens we get married and the nikah happens on earth? Listen, no, that's all Bollywood, guys. Let's leave Bollywood out of it for now. Okay? It's not the idea, pehle arsh mein hui shadi, uske baad farsh mein. No, not like that. In the skies and earth, no. All he's trying to say is that this institution is distinguished, is beloved by God, and demands our attention and requires our effort and is asking us to fight for our marriage. If you guys are struggling as a husband and wife, I ask you what? You use all options possible, Islamic, non-Islamic, whatever the case may be, to do what? To get your marriage right. If that means you sacrifice, if that means you take the high road, if that means, you know what? You do whatever, fight for your marriage. I'm tired of reciting a nikah and 1 month later hearing about a divorce of the same couple I just recited nikah for last month. How could you possibly be on the verge of divorce after 30 days? How could you possibly be that bad? That's not worth fighting for, sacrifice. Give it some time to at least dry, man. You haven't even deposited my check yet in terms of my wedding gift. And you're already talking about, give me my gift back. Because we walk in thinking, you know what, I can have 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Because we live in a me-centric society, right? We live in a me idea. I talked about individualism before. Part of the problem is that we can't walk into marriage thinking, well, if this doesn't do anything for me, I'm out. Khulafiz, out. Talaq shud. Poof. No. Sorry. If you've given her the commitment, if you plucked her as a flower from the garden of her parents and you brought her into you and your home, then make sure you water that flower and you give that flower sunlight. Don't bring the flower from her parents' home that was blooming and blossoming and smelling only to put it on the front doormat for you to step on every single day. Why did you bring the flower to bring her? She was achha khasa, she was fine over there. I don't understand. Why did you get married if after a month, I can't do this? What were you expecting? So forbearance. Now, forbearance comes from the idea of hardships. Hardships need to be understood. Right? And it took me a long time in this world to understand the beauty, and the word I'll use is beauty, of hardships. Because the problem is that in this day and age, what's being defined as evil, what's being defined as evil is the fact that if anything makes you uncomfortable, it's evil. It's evil. And evil's no good, thus that thing that makes you uncomfortable is no good, so leave. It's possible that something might make you uncomfortable, might make me uncomfortable, that is actually very, very good for you. It's very, very good for you. Okay? I'll give you one example that's extremely important for you to understand. There was a man with a, watching a butterfly come to this world, right? Caterpillar goes into a cocoon becomes a butterfly, okay? That's my quick grade 4 lesson on science. So he's watching this beautiful event happen, right? The cocoon begins to shake, and there begins to become like a little bit of a movement from inside, and then now he's like, I can't believe it. Now he sees it open up, and the butterfly begins to emerge, right? And halfway from this process, nothing happens. He's waiting. He wants to see that, he wants to see the to see the wings of the butterfly. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. What's going on? What's going on? Nothing happens. He thinks, oh my God, maybe he's stuck. Maybe the butterfly's stuck in his own cocoon. What does he do? He grabs a pair of scissors, goes and begins to ever so slowly snip around the outside of the cocoon. Right? Okay, there you go, buddy. Now come on, man. Let's go. Emerge. He emerges. The butterfly emerges, but his torso is swollen. His wings are shriveled. What this man didn't realize, okay, now he was being kind about it, but he was being a little bit hasty, is the fact that the butterfly had to struggle to emerge from the cocoon, so the fluid goes out to the wings and it begins to fly out. Now it can't fly. It's free from the cocoon, but it can't fly. He's done essentially what you should never do, and it's clipped its wings. Right? The one thing that I want my couples to realize is that you're going to face hardships. It's not going to be easy. But just like our parents' generation, they fought through everything. I mean, meaning they struggled through everything. And they started off with nothing in the beginning. They came here as immigrants with absolutely nothing. We, as first or second generation, depending on who you're at, you've had a little bit of a head start in the society, right? You don't need to learn the culture and the language. They had to do all of that. Learn the language, the culture, the roads, direction, work 7 days a week, sometimes odd jobs here and there, just so you and I had food to eat, right? All that we forget, right? We forget all the zahmat and the efforts and the sacrifice of our parents. We really do sometimes. I know I do at least sometimes. I forget the fact that 40 years ago, my parents landed from Karachi, and somehow now they're able to make this life of theirs in a brand new country. Okay? And what they realize that we have yet to realize is that every struggle that the husband and the wife go together, they actually get stronger and stronger through that hardship. Sometimes God places that hardship in your individual life. Sometimes it places that hardship in your family life. Sometimes you go through a miscarriage. Sometimes you go through a lost job. Sometimes you go through, I don't know, a sickness. Sometimes, for example, you go through bad in-laws. All those things are struggles for a couple. Now, you can break off into two individual teams and go at it on the same court, or you can go towards the same team and say, look, you know what, guys, we're having a bad quarter. This isn't the best of games. Let's buck up. Let's play some defense. Let's hit some shots, rebound, go back to basic basketball. And let's do our best. In the end, if you get blown out by 25 points, it's okay, guys. We did our best. High five. We'll get them tomorrow. Embrace the challenges of marriage. Don't expect both of you who have lived individual lives for the first 25 years of your life to somehow seamlessly merge into this idea of marriage. Right? Where everywhere you work, everywhere you walk now, doves are being released for some reason. Right? Or for some reason, rose petals disappear. No, it doesn't work like that. Sorry. Right? That honeymoon stage, is over real quickly, and then reality, comes in. And that reality is everything, from the idea of, can you please put your socks back where they belong, to can we able to balance our finances, to are we able now to have a kid at this moment. All that requires struggle, and you got to struggle together. Forbearance is not patience. Hilm is not sabr. Patience is that when a hardship comes, you get through it, but you get through with a sour taste in your mouth. You're like, fine, okay, fine. I have to deal with it. I'll deal with it. Fine. I don't like it, but I have to deal with it. That's not hilm. That's sabr. You're patient, but you don't like the fact that you're patient. Hilm is that not only do you get through the hardship, but you attain a lesson in the process. You grow 1 inch through that hardship. The faster we lean on each other when it comes to hardships, the easier it is. And the first hardship I feel, maybe I'm wrong, I feel, and this is mostly in a South Asian, in the Indian Pakistani community, marriages. I don't know if it exists so much in an Iranian or an Arab culture, but I do know that one of the first hardships that a new couple faces is dealing with the respective family of their spouse, the in-laws. It's a huge issue. It's a huge issue, and I'm bound to upset someone today, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm miles away from you guys, so I'm okay. Okay? And I see it from both ends. Okay? The first thing I want all of you to realize is that there's a hadith by our Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam who says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, who says that every human being has three sets of parents. Three sets of parents. The first set of parents are your biological parents. Makes sense, right? Me and daddy, right? Makes sense. The second set of parents are your teachers. The third set of parents are the parents of your spouse. Ya Allah. Huh. Yeah, parents of your spouse. Which means that it's important that you not only cultivate a strong marriage with your spouse, but you also cultivate a relationship with their family. Whether you accept it or not, whether you believe it or not, in this culture at least, families get married. Okay? It doesn't mean the family has a say in everything that you guys do, no. But it does mean that you cannot just say, well, you know what, the only person I have to deal with is my husband or my wife, and that's it. You know, his sisters, his mother, her brothers, her sister. Forget it. No, it's not like that. Do yourself a favor, right? And do your spouse a favor, and do everything you can to show that I'm going to do my best now to cultivate a relationship with your mother-in-law, with your mother, and with your sister, and with your brothers. Now, if they're not welcoming you and all that, that's fine. But it should not come from you. I'm just telling you from experience. It should not come from you. Always take the high road. Asad bhai, it's exhausting. Absolutely, I know it is. I know it is. Because I don't know what it is about, about sometimes our in-laws, when especially when boys get married, for some reason they feel like, especially the mother feels like, this woman who's coming to marry my son is taking my son away from me. Okay? So she's already, on the nikah day, she's already the enemy. Okay. Meanwhile, the wife thinks that, oh my God, this guy is a mama's boy. His mother still comes and swarms over, and won't quite, hashtag cut the cord. So now there's battle going on. That you know what? He's a grown man now. He's my husband now, right? But that's my little chunu, right? That's my little mumu. That's my little, this and that. That's my little bablu, for example, right? But he's a 28-year-old bablu. He's like, his name is, Muhammad or Ali or Asad, let's say, for example. Okay? And so this battle ensues, right? And then this war over this land, which is you, the man, ensues. Wait a second now. Just calm down, everybody. Hold on one second. Why can't the mother for a moment think that I'm not losing a son, I'm actually adopting and I'm adding a daughter to my home? Let's change the script. And why can't it be the fact that, look, you're not coming in to replace the mother. Don't come in and pit the boy between you and his mother. Don't do that. Right? If you show the amount of love which is needed for the fact that you see her also as your mother, she's not my mother. I know she's not your mother. I know she's not your mother, but maybe, mother-in-law, right? At least this idea, let's break the mold of the fact that, the sauce and the whole battle, let's forget all that. If not anything else, this hadith tells us that the parents of your spouse demand your respect. At least the akhlaq that I've been talking about for 8 nights, apply it. Okay? If she, if he or she, if they don't treat you well, and I know there are in-laws that treat their daughter-in-laws horribly. And then there are daughter-in-laws that really, cause immense issues. Right? And the one that can really kind of fix all of this is the husband. How do I fix it? Gotta be a little bit now careful. Each person has their right to, and I told myself I wouldn't talk about it. Now here I am right in the middle of this ridiculous conversation. Right? Like sometimes I think we've evolved as families, and so, I've heard of great stories, and sometimes I still think we're stuck in the villages in the 1940s. But if we see her, meaning my spouse's mother, as my mother, be it a dash line or italics or one font size smaller than the actual mama, then the thing will change. The other thing that I want to mention too, especially to us as guys, is keep in mind, usually, again, in the Indo-Pakistani community, and maybe not so much now anymore, at least back then, especially for those who marry young, when you can't afford your own place, you're going to have to live with someone's parents. Usually, it's the girl that leaves the comforts of her home, enters a new house, has to adopt to the norms of the house that they've been living together for 20, 25 years. She comes in now, and her clothing, if she wears hijab, she has to wear hijab around the house. If you have a brother, let's say, for example, everything is brand new. This is not some 2-day, 3-day vacation or a sleepover for a couple of nights. She's living now with you guys, right? It's a huge adjustment. It's a massive adjustment. And things that are norm for you as the guy are not norm for her. She comes from a totally different world. So, and the only person she's comfortable with is you, her husband, right? If you sit there and say, look, you got to figure out you and my mom, I'm not getting involved. There's no way I'm doing that. I'm sorry, that's cruel. That's not right. Okay, transition her into your house. Okay, watch as this relationship is kind of folding, and and be open. Defend your mother if need be. Defend your wife if need be. If your wife, for example, is upset about something, let you be her sounding board. Remember, women are process-driven communicators. Men are results-driven communicators. Meaning what? That for a woman, not I'm being very general, and I'm sure if I mess up tonight, you guys will let me know. I'm sure. But basically, half the solution for your wife is just that you're able to listen to her. There's bound to be things, guys, there's bound to be things that our mothers, our sisters, our brothers do to our wives that our wife won't like. Bound to happen. Bound to happen. Okay? You gotta let her have an outlet and say, look, I didn't like the way your sister did that tonight. I didn't like the way that your mom did that tonight. Right? She's not asking you to go storm into your mom next time. Don't no. She's like, don't you dare say a word. Don't you dare say a word. I talked about this yesterday, right? The idea that sometimes half of the healing of a wound is just to admit that there is a wound there. If you gaslight her, say, you know what, you have no right to be upset. My mom's perfect. Don't you dare say a word about my mother. I've seen guys tell their wives, you could talk about anybody in my family. Don't touch my mom, not my mom. She's like, your mom is the biggest problem. And she wants to make it work, right? She's been trained, like I said before, since she was 9, 10 years old, that when you go into the house, make sure you do your best. She's come already with a sacrificial mentality that I know I'm walking into a brand new environment, but and keep in mind, she does all of this because she loves you. She's doing it for you. The least that we could do is hear it when she says it. Okay? And if something needs to be done and addressed, and you address it with your mother, your sister, respectfully, absolutely respectfully, right? But make it sound like, look, mom, you know what? She's my wife now. Okay? Look, you know what? She's my mother, and you're right. Sometimes she does that, sometimes, but you know, so all of this happens with what? Through you embracing the hardship. Embracing the hardship. So I humbly ask you guys, it's not my topic. I don't want to go on about this. I'm sorry. I know a lot of you people out there belong to a different culture that really don't, I remember there was one Iranian scholar that came into our community, and a good friend of mine, and all of you know him very well. Anyways, he came, and he came. His first ever Ashra in Muharram was with our center in Toronto, and he had, of course, a Q&A with our sisters. We do our best now to give our sisters always access to every alim that comes into town. So I was traveling somewhere else. I don't know where I was. 7th of Muharram, I think he had a session with the sisters. Okay, someone's house. It went on for hours and hours and hours. And majority of the questions: how do I deal with my mother-in-law? How do I deal with my in-laws? And he called me once. He called me like the next day, and he's like, Syed Asad, did you know that these girls live with their in-laws? I said, yeah. I said, you guys don't live with your in-laws? He's like, no. He's like, we don't even attempt to propose to a girl unless we got an apartment lined up. I'm like, oh, okay. No, not us, man. We move right in. Right? So when a sister's asking him, what do we do about about my mother-in-law, he would say, "Well, move out." Well, that's not an option all the time, and that's also not a solution. He's coming from a different culture. So I don't want to spend too much time in this. All I'm going to say is that everybody has a role to play. Everyone has to sacrifice a little bit. Okay, this ego that we have has to be down. But I'm telling you, the one individual in this whole equation that can really help speed along this process is us, the guy, the husband. Is us, the husband. Do not relieve yourself of this. Okay, you have a right to your wife. You have a right to your mother as well. Absolutely. You'll always be her son, and you are now her husband. Anyways, okay. So but that's one of the biggest battles that I think that when someone gets married is this harmonizing of their lives together. Okay, because they're so used to their own ways, right? They've had their own room growing up, for example. They've had their own schedule growing up, for example. Depending on their home environment, maybe they have their own sense of freedom. Now they get married and they are, for example, under one roof. And now every time she leaves the house, your mom says, "Where is she going? She's not, why is she in her room? Or why is she going there? Or why is she not in a bad way, but the mother-in-law wants her new beau to be right beside her, right? Her new daughter-in-law to be right beside her. Meanwhile, your wife is used to being somewhat free inside of her own house before she got married. Anyways, there's adjustment. That adjustment has to be embraced, fought through, right? Sometimes there'll be tense nights, and sometimes it'll be, you know what? I want to make this work. I know that my mom's like that. I want to make this work. I know that, she just got here. Give her some time to understand how we do things, this and that. Everyone's trying to understand each other. It's not going to be an easy transition, right? But everyone has to sacrifice, not just the girl. It's unfair. It's unfair for you to pluck that flower from that house and say, "Look, this is your new garden now," and just start to go, "Wait a second, I need to understand the soil and the other flowers. Where's my place? Can I go?" Give it some time, man. But you're the gardener. You can sit there and you can give the proper food and the water and all that. Okay? So we have to embrace the struggles. Allah says, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We've placed you in hardship. We've placed you in hardship. Meaning that, and that hardship is there to develop your character, develop your soul, develop your strength. Right? Not only that, but now as a couple, when you face hardship and you tackle it together, and you take the lead as the man of the house to handle what's going on, for example, then you truly gel as one couple. I'll give you one hadith by Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. He says that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to elevate a group of people, He places hardships on their path. Okay, very carefully. Please listen very carefully. He places hardships on their path to the point where others may look at that individual going through hardship and think, "Wow, I wonder what they did to invoke the wrath of God." The hardship is there, and from the outside it looks, "Wow, these guys are always struggling, always going through a lot." Meanwhile, Allah has different plans for him. Right? But people look at this couple, think, "Oh my God, they're always going through this issue and that issue." But really what Allah is doing is giving them wings to fly together, right? The hadith says that to the point where individuals look at the couple and say, "I wonder what they did to invoke the wrath of Allah." But if they knew what Allah would have planned for them, they would actually ask for the same hardship. Okay? One of the things that forbearance now brings about is that you understand that, you know what, if I want to fight for the marriage, then I need to find the courage to do so. And that courage only happens when you have respect for the actual relationship. Okay, that means you got to be a good communicator. It means you have to be very patient. It means that you have to now lose some battles. It means that you have to sometimes sacrifice things outside of you. Right? You're in a process of harmonizing, right? There's going to be some struggles. There's going to be some bad moments, bad days, and that's okay. And that's okay. But from my own experience and from the experience of others, when a couple goes through hardships and they survive that hardship, they're 1 inch closer to each other. Look, to my husbands, man, you know what? If I can sum up what the wife wants, the wife wants to be able to look at her husband and think no matter where we are, what we go through, he'll handle it. And you know what the husband wants? The husband wants that when the wife looks at him, she looks at him with eyes of respect. Okay? So everything from tone to everything from language to all these things for him are disrespectful. On the other side, when the hardship hits and the man just bounces and leaves game 7, I'm out, right? That is cowardly. So you can't expect to have respect unless you earn that respect. Simply being the man doesn't make you respectful. I'm sorry. You got to earn it, right? If you want the captain C on your chest, you got to earn it. Got to show up. Okay. Anyways, so the first thing is about forbearance. Okay. Embrace your hardships. Expect your hardships. Grow together through the hardship. Okay, be there for each other. You guys are on the exact same team. You're not enemies of each other. The faster you realize it, the better you'll get. That's number one. The second principle from Imam Sadiq is forgiveness. Allahu Akbar. Forgiveness. So important. So important. Remind yourself constantly that you're not perfect, they're not perfect. Remind yourself constantly, I beg Allah for His forgiveness all the time. Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. And the way that he works sometimes is that he says, show me your forgiveness, I'll show you mine. It's hypocritical to beg to Allah for His forgiveness and you not forgive your spouse beside you. Forgive, Baba. Always forgive, man. Always forgive. You have the softest hearts, right? Again, the husbands, if you want to be that captain of the team, you got to be, forgiving and overlooking. And be the mature one, and be the strong one, and be the wise one. Not that she's not wise, be the wiser one. The power of forgiveness is so important. I'll tell you why. When we learn to forgive and when we learn to overlook the faults of others, when we're tolerant of the faults of others, that means that we are accepting of the fact that we have faults as well. Part of the reason why sometimes we're not as forgiving as spouses as we'd like to be and as we should be is because we don't see faults inside of us. So if I think I'm void of faults, I won't tolerate the faults I see inside of you. Right? So part of the akhlaq building process, part of the process of me being forgiving in nature is for me to have a real talk with myself. That look, man, you're deficient, right? You have inadequacies, you have problems, there are things that you need to work on. I'll talk to myself right now, okay? Right? We're having this self-talk with ourselves, okay? Right? That's why it's so important. Muhasaba, muhasaba, muhasaba. Accountability, accountability, accountability. Right? We will sit there and account for every month, every penny I spend. I'll account for the amount of calories that I consume. I'll account for, I don't know, my data, my minutes, everything, but I won't account for the mistakes that I make. When we realize that we're flawed, we're forgiving to the flaws of others. She's not perfect, neither are you. She's gonna make mistakes that you will never make, and you're gonna make mistakes that you could never even think of making. But what you can't be is not forgiving to each other. Allah says, look, I've placed that mercy in front of you, right? وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً, right? Surah Rum, verse 21. I placed two very important qualities between you two, meaning Allah says these two should be enough for you to begin a very beautiful life together. The first one is forgiveness, merciful. If you see regret over the mistake that they have made, if you see remorse on their face, that's all you need, man. Why do you want her to grovel? Why do you want him to sit there and squirm for 3 days? Why do you enjoy the side treatment? Right? She said that she was sorry. He said that he understood what he did. Now, mind you, that's different when they keep repeating the mistake. Oh, that's something else. But at least initially show signs of forgiveness. And a lot of you do. A lot of couples are very forgiving. Very forgiving. Very sacrificing for the greater good. That's awesome. Part of forgiveness, however, is one point I really want to talk about tonight, and that is the other ingredient in that verse. Built into forgiveness is mawadda. Mawadda. What is mawadda? Okay? It's already been over half an hour. I don't have much time. Actually, it's been more than that. Sorry. Okay? Mawadda is compassion. It's not love. Muhabbat is love. Mawadda is something else. And very, very quickly. In today's lingo, mawadda can be included as to this discussion on the on the language of love. The language of love. Okay? Everybody has a language of love. Mawadda is to figure out what the language of love of your spouse is and what the language of love of you is. Correct? So she, as a person who loves you, has to love you the way you need to be loved. You, in turn, have to love her the way she needs to be loved. You can't dictate to her that I'm going to love you this way and you accept that love, nor can she dictate to you, you should accept my love this way. No, I'm sorry. If I'm the beloved, I get to set the rules. If he's the ma'bud, he gets to tell me how to worship him. Worship me like this. Yeah, but I'm going to take a little bit of that. No, I want to be worshipped like this. Otherwise, don't call yourself a worshiper. Don't tell me you love me and do all the things that upsets me, right? So while muhabbat is love, mawaddat is action plus love. So there's a verbalizing, honey, I love you, I got you, you're my, you're my this, you're my that, you're my baby, you're my one and only, you're my sab kuch, you're my bae. At the same time, you help her clean the kitchen. At the same time, you cook a nice meal for her. At the same time, you wake her up for Fajr. At the same time, right, you do Amal Shabi Qadr together. That's language of love. You know that what she loves is, before going to sleep, just a 15-minute recap of the day. It just helps me settle down. It warms my heart when we talk for 15 minutes. Just you and I. That's it. Okay, that's what she loves to do. I'm gonna make sure I do it. Me, myself, I'm not expressive. I don't want, not me, but in general. Don't like to talk. I'm a very talkative guy. But you know what? She's the beloved. She's a source of my love. I'm gonna give her what she wants, right? Otherwise, we say, I love you, I love you, I love you, and we keep upsetting her. She said, look, man, your I love yous are getting tired, homie. I don't want your I love yous. I want you to show me you love me. So now when for example, she comes to bed now and you're waiting there, mashallah, ready to talk. Your phone is off to the side, nothing, the TV is off, nothing's distracting you. Let's talk. She's like, really? Yeah, let's talk. What's going on? How was your day? Oh my God. 15, 20 minutes of talking. And then after 15, 20 minutes, then you drop the what? I love you. She's like, oh, really? Yeah. Expression of love plus the action is mawadda. 2 areas in the Quran, only 2 areas in the Quran where Allah mentions mawadda. 1 area is between husband and wife, and 1 area is what? Mawadda between us and the Ahlul Bayt. Allah. Imam Hussein, I love you. Imam Hussein, I cry for you. Imam Hussein, you're my everything. Imam Hussein, you are the light of my guidance. But my life doesn't reflect Imam Hussein's mission. Imam Zaman, I can't wait for you, but I commit every sin that makes him cry twice a week. Imam Ali, I love you, I don't follow one of his commands. That's not mawaddat, man. You can sit there and give me 1,000 Nada Hedris and 1,000 Husseins, but mawaddat is to go the Hussein, and also what? Follow his path as well. He sacrificed for the deen. What am I sacrificing this Muharram? He stood up against his oppressor. Do we even speak out against racism today? So my brothers and my sisters, as I move into Masayib, all this 8 days of talk all led to these next 2 discussions. Now, 1 more discussion left. Forbearance and forgiveness are the 2 initial principles that we need to strengthen our marriages. Okay? Embrace the marriage. Fight for the marriage. Okay? Strengthen the marriage. Don't have 1 foot out the marriage. You're in, you're in. You're committed, inshallah. Unless something drastic happens and you have to separate, God forbid, that's something else. It's allowed, of course, but it's detested. Islam places a high emphasis on the sanctity of the marriage. We can't just throw it away like that just because of one or 2 issues. No, let's work on it the best of our ability. Let's work on it. I'm not asking anyone to be oppressed or to be beaten or to be abused. Of course not. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that sometimes a little bit of problems, and I see that, you know what, I'm out. I'm out. I'm bouncing. I can't do it. No, it doesn't. Or you can't wake up bored. Say, you know what, I'm just going to move on to somebody else. It's not a game to be played. Okay? It's not like you pick up a toy off the shelf, you play with it. Oh, okay, that's boring now. Toss it away. Another toy now. And I'm sorry for the example, but that's how we sometimes think it is. Okay? You've committed now. Commit, inshallah. And part of that building process is to grieve together, is to spiritually build together, right? Hopefully now, you've been sitting together as husband and wife and listening to, if you don't have kids to put to bed or kids to feed, if you had the luxury of being able to dedicate some time together, not just me, you have a buffet, mashallah, of speakers out there online. But do that. Spend an hour together and listen to a lecture, discuss the points, what you think, what I think, right? This is deen building. This is precisely the sacrifice that Imam Hussein made. And the sacrifice of today, the day of Abbas, is azim for Imam Hussein. It's hard. This is a hard masad to recite. This was the alamdar, this was the leader, this was the commander of Imam Hussein's army, coming to him, asking him, Mawla, give me ijazat, give me permission. Mawla, let me go and fight in your way. Every time he would ask, he'd say, Abbas, you're my commander. Abbas, you're my alamdar. Abbas, you're the leader of my army. There came a moment where the ashab gave their life, the Bani Hashim gave their life. Abbas, you're my alamdar. He looks around, says, Mawla, what army is left that I am the alamdar of? If you want to go, Abbas, go and get water for the children. Al-Atash from the tents of Imam Hussein can be heard all the way to Umar bin Saad's tents. Hazrat Abbas grabs the mushk and the water sack of Sakina, grabs the alam now, mounts the horse, and what enters the Maidan of Karbala? Thousands upon thousands of enemies waiting for him there, and he is the only one to reach to the banks of Furat. Those who've been to Karbala, you know that you go across a field, a Maidan, you go down a slope into the banks of Furat. Now they have stairs there. Abbas now gets to the banks of Furat, fills the mushk of Sakina. At that pitiful, that moment that I always talk about, where there's water now in his hands, and a lot of artists in Iran I've seen with my own hands depict this picture beautifully. Looking at the water, he's also thirsty. He's also dying of thirst. His lips are also parched. He's been in that desert heat since the second of Muharram. If he took a drop of water to drink, nobody would have blamed him. But my salams to the loyalty of Abul Fazl Abbas. He drops the water. How can I drink water? Al-Attash, Sakina screams for water. Hussein's lips are dry. Abbas drops the water, fills the mushk. Now let's get the water back to the khayma of Imam Hussein. That was his only mission. Get the water back. Get the water back. In the meantime, inside the tent, Sakina now gets these small children ready. My chacha Abbas is coming. My Ammu Abbas is coming. Abbas is coming. She watches the alam from afar. The alam is coming. The alam is coming. My chacha's getting water. Now Umar bin Saad realizes this water can't get back to the khayma. Thousands and thousands now circle and surround Abul Fazl. Those who had rocks through rocks. Those who had spears through spears. But there comes a moment now where somebody ambushes Abul Fazl and chops off one of his arms. He grabs the mushk in the other arm. Alam now is there with him, going towards the khayma of Imam Hussein. The mushk of Sakina. I have to get water back to the khayma. There comes another man who comes and ambushes him and cuts off his other arm. Now Abul Fazl doesn't have his arms, the mushk in his teeth, the alam between his legs, moving towards the khayma. At that moment, Umar bin Saad says, Hurmala, shower the man with arrows. Arrows come towards Abul Fazl. One hits his neck, he removes it. One hits his thigh, he removes it. One hits his shoulder, he removes it. But the one arrow that destroyed the man was the arrow that hit the mushk of Sakina. Sakina. The water sack is struck. Water is spilled all the plains of Karbala. Abbas now stops. What does he do? Doesn't have water for the tents, doesn't have arms to fight the enemy. My salams to the courage of Abul Fazl Abbas, the son of Hadar Karrar. He turns around and enters into the circle of the enemy, right into the belly of the enemy, somehow begins to fight. No arms, no weapons, no nothing. Then there comes a moment where he falls from the horse. My brothers and my sisters, when somebody falls from a horse, they use their arms to break their fall. My Abbas fell flat on his face on the plains of Karbala. Assalamu alayka, Ya Aba Abdullah. Imam Hussein comes running towards the Maidan of Karbala. Abbas, what have you done? What have you done? What is this? Mawla, I'm Sharminda. I am not worthy. I am sorry. I couldn't bring you water. Leave my body right here in the banks of Furat. Imam Hussein grabs the alam, goes back to the khayma. Bibi Sakina comes out, sees the alam is there, but the alamdar is not there. She goes out to the Maidan of Karbala. My 4-year-old Sakina, Chacha Abbas, Ammu Abbas, your Sakina is not thirsty anymore. سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلب. معتمر حسين يا عباس يا حسين.
Abbas, Ya Abbas, you're the bravest of us. Abbas, Ya Abbas, you're the bravest of us. You're a reminder that Ali is above us, as he's daring to bring water. They're preparing his slaughter, as he's daring to bring water. They're preparing his slaughter. Oh, flag bearer, where's your hand? Is it bleeding on the sand? Oh, flag bearer, where's your hand? Is it bleeding on the sand? Will Sakina understand? You were loyal to her command. You were loyal to her command. Oh, my Abbas, Abbas, Abbas. Oh, my Abbas, Abbas, Abbas. Bravest of us, Abbas, Abbas.
Where is Abbas?
Abbas, 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 Abbas.
Of words that are true, I say this of you. No brother on earth is truer than you. No more could you give, no more could you do.
Abbas, 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 Abbas.
This uncle of mine, so tall and so strong, will soon quench my thirst before long. They say he has died, they must be wrong.
Abbas, 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 Abbas.
Of all those who love, their love is outdone by the love that they had for Fatima's son. The day you were born, the blaze had begun.
Abbas, 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 Abbas.
Oh my Abbas,
Abbas, Abbas,
bravest of us.
Abbas, Abbas.
Where is Abbas?
Abbas, 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 Abbas. Oh my Abbas, oh my Abbas. Abbas, Abbas, Abbas. Oh my Abbas, Abbas, Abbas. Bravest of us, Abbas, Abbas. Where is Abbas?
Abbas, Abbas, Abbas,
Abbas, Abbas.
Abbas, Abbas, Abbas. Who else can claim that Imam Hussein wanted no other and called out his name? My back is broken. Who else remains?
Abbas, Abbas, Abbas. Abbas, Abbas, Abbas.
The legend still stands. They speak of a man who charged like a lion and gave both his hands. You're watching the water, it pours on the sand.
Abbas, Abbas, Abbas. Abbas, Abbas, Abbas.
Oh my Abbas,
Abbas, Abbas.
bravest of us.
Abbas, Abbas.
Where is Abbas?
Abbas, 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 Abbas. Abbas, Abbas, Abbas.
The bridges are down in our lands today. The bombs of injustice have made it away. Our men are in prison, our children in pain.
Abbas, Abbas, Abbas. Abbas, Abbas, Abbas.
We call out your name, for we need your aid. The foes of your father have wagged a crusade. O son of Ali, we call on your blade.
Abbas, Abbas, Abbas. Abbas, Abbas, Abbas.
Don't tell me of heroes, there's only Abbas, protector of Hussein, the one Ali trusts. They cut him and stabbed him, but he's still with us.
Abbas, Abbas, Abbas. Abbas, Abbas, Abbas.
Oh my Abbas,
Abbas, Abbas.
bravest of us.
Abbas, Abbas.
Where is Abbas?
Abbas, Abbas,
Abbas,
Abbas, Abbas. Abbas, Abbas, Abbas. Abba Father, Ya 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 Abbas. Abba Faz, I still can't let you ride. Bearer of my flag, power, awe, majesty, and pride. You're my backbone, please stay by my side. Relic of my father, I'd be broken if you died. Bloody soil, bloody swords, and bloody turbans. Abba Father, Ya Abbas. Pouring on the sand is a water skin. Abba Father, Ya Abbas. Master, when will I see your face again? Abba Father, Ya Abbas. Call me brother, O Abbas, for this the end. Abba Father, Ya Abbas. 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 Every man has a chance to show himself. Sometime in his life he will come to know himself. Good or bad, when the call is to Islam, some of us will stand, only some of us respond. Oh Hussein, your Abbas, here's your calling. Abba Father, Ya Abbas. In the middle of the desert, bare and bloody. Abba Father, Ya Abbas. And the shrieks of women who are screaming, Abba Father, Ya Abbas. He'll answer you and he'll be stopped by nothing. Abba Father, Ya Abbas. 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 Wa waila, wa waila, وويلا 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 Oh martyr of Al-Qameh وويلا Oh martyr of Al-Qameh وويلا وويلا Oh عزيز فاطمة وويلا وويلا Oh عزيز فاطمة وويلا وويلا Oh uncle of Sakina وويلا Oh uncle of Sakina وويلا Oh the son of Murtada وويلا Oh Haydar of Karbala وويلا 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 على العباس 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 وويلا Every Thursday night we remember Hussein. Every Thursday night we remember Hussein. We cry for Hussein and we call Ya Hussein. We cry for Hussein and we call Ya Hussein. Our goal is to spread the message of Hussein. Our goal is to spread the message of Hussein. To live like Ali and to die like Hussein. To live like Ali and to die like Hussein. Every beat of my heart calls the name of Hussein. Every beat of my heart calls the name of Hussein. And written on my heart is the name of Hussein. And written on my heart is the name of Hussein. Every beat of my heart calls the name of Hussein. Every beat of my heart calls the name of Hussein. And written on my heart is the name of Hussein. And written on my heart is the name of Hussein. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. How much I've been dreaming to see Karbala. How much I've been dreaming to see Karbala. My eyes are begging me to see Karbala. My feet, they keep walking towards Karbala. My feet, they keep walking towards Karbala. When finally I see the dome of Hussein. When finally I see the dome of Hussein. One more time. When finally I see the dome of Hussein, I enter heaven and I cry, Ya Hussein. I enter heaven and I cry, Ya Hussein. Your Lord drew you upon every eye, Karbala. Your Lord drew you upon every eye, Karbala. Your name flows with every tear and cry, Karbala. Your tear flows with every tear and Karbala. Karbala, 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 Karbala. Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Abbas, 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 Abul Fadl Ya Abbas, Abul Fadl Ya Abbas, Abul Fadl Ya Abbas. أبا الفضل يا عباس، أبا الفضل يا عباس، أبا الفضل يا عباس، أبا الفضل يا عباس. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة النساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي، السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى عباس الحسين يا قمر بني هاشم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين زين العابدين، السلام عليك يا إمام محمد الباقر علم النبيين، السلام عليك يا إمام جعفر الصادق، السلام عليك يا إمام موسى الكاظم، السلام عليك يا إمام علي بن موسى الرضا المرتضى، السلام عليك يا إمام محمد بن علي الجواد، السلام عليك يا إمام علي بن محمد الهادي، السلام عليك يا إمام حسن بن علي الزكي العسكري، السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، الأمان 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 يا بقية الله في أرض أجرك الله. We send our condolences to you يا صاحب العصر والزمان. I wonder where you are these nights. If you're in Bain al-Haramain, inshallah we all get to go visit our Imam next year this time, inshallah. السلام عليك يا أهل بيت النبوة ومعظم الرسالة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته بالنبي وآله. رحم الله من يقرأ الفاتحة مع الصلوات. اللهم صل على محمد.